hi.
Okay, you can see me, it looks like.
Yes, I can. Lovely to meet you, Aishetu.
Lovely to meet you as well. So do you go by Tobe, Tobechi? How do you want me to refer to you? Tell me.
Tobe.
Tobe. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Good morning. It's
Good
morning my
morning.
time.
Yeah,
So
well, it just turned afternoon for me. It's just 12 noon. So, oh, that is, look, I have to say, first of all, that, preparing for this, to have this conversation with you, I was watching videos and going through interviews that you've done in the past, and I'm like, wow, this is the woman I'm going to be talking to. I am so impressed. I have a lot of admiration for you. So, thank you for the time.
oh, thank you. You're too kind to say that. I'm really, really excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Same here. So I have a bit of a background on you that I was going to read out, but I think it's better if you do justice to you. And while you do that, I'm just going to pull out little things from your background on here and just throw those as at you as you talk. Do you mind if we do it that
Okay.
way? Okay.
Okay, sure.
So,
So I should just talk about introduce
yes,
myself, my
yes, let's
background.
start with you. Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone who's joined. Thank you for dedicating some time on your Sunday to this chat. I'm really honored to have been invited. I've long followed her network online and think you guys are amazing what you do in
Thank you.
elevating and amplifying the voices of women, which is what I've stood for all of my life. I think, as you said, I was on before. You said I am the CEO and founder of Bossy Cosmetics. Bossy Cosmetics is 18 months old. We're a teeny tiny young beauty brand founded here in Northern California. And really, we make, I'm wearing some of my products, cruelty-free, vegan beauty. And really the goal of our business is to empower confident women and to
Mm,
empower confidence in women and really to work with ambitious women and thinking about how they level up in life. The majority of my professional career has been in investment banking. So I am not a beauty industry veteran. In fact, I think my only chops in beauty have been that I'm an avid consumer of beauty. I'm a self-professed lipstick junkie. I can wear any color, and I probably have 500 sticks of lipsticks. And lipstick is kind of like my thing. It's the thing that's like how Superman puts on his cape. For
right.
me,
Yeah.
that's lipstick. Like I put on my lipstick, I'm like, all right, I'm ready.
Do you have that thing
Um,
with red lipstick? You just put on red lipstick and it feels like you can take over any room that you enter.
Literally,
Yes.
literally. So I've got on two lipsticks now. I've got red and orange, which means that not only do I want to take over the world, but I'm ready, guys, ready. So yeah, that's my background. I mean, I started my career in New York as an investment banker. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Lagos. I've lived in London, Johannesburg. I've traveled a lot in Central and South America. Worked at a host of financial institutions. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. Even when I worked within
Hmm.
corporations, I always thought from a creation standpoint. And I would almost say that I'm equal left brain, right brain, which is I'm incredibly analytical, but also super creative. So I have finally found the place that values both sides of my
Yeah.
brain. So
That
that's me.
is,
I'm married. I've got three sons.
yes.
And yeah, I hope that's a good summary of my
That is
background.
that is a beautiful summary. And while you were talking, I was just remembering bits and pieces of different videos and stuff that I had watched with you on it. And I'm like, yes, she's gonna talk about that with me. She's gonna talk about that with me. Now that you're a mother, with your three sons, and then comparing that to your own childhood and growing up with your mom, and then, just coming through that place where she's educating you about what it feels like to actually be Nigerian,
Yeah,
how is that working where you're helping your children understand their Nigerian heritage, their African heritage, while raising them in America in comparison
yeah,
to what you had growing up with your mother?
yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. I was born in Boston and I lived there for kind of the first 8, 9, 10 years of my life.
Hmm.
And oddly enough, I was never not Nigerian. So
Oh,
my mother never really had to teach me how to be Nigerian because, my aunt lived with us, my mom's younger sister. They both spoke Edo in the house. We ate Nigerian food. We had Nigerian friends, relatives. I mean, I was always Nigerian. So I was Nigerian, but American as well.
hmm.
So I never went through the process of being confused about where I came from. And then when I went to secondary school in Nigeria, I went to Queen's College in Lagos. When you get to Lagos, in
I
Queen's
went
College,
there as
particularly,
well.
you don't know, no one has to convince you about how Nigerian you are. If you even try to suggest you're not, they will deal with you. So I never had that issue, to be honest. And my children, even though they were born, two were born in the US, one was born in the UK, but they, from the minute they were like 2 to 3 months old, lived in
Mhm.
lived in Nigeria for quite a few
Okay.
years. So we only moved to the US 2.5 years ago. And I
Okay.
think that I'm trying to raise them in that same way, which is, yes, you are American, but you are Nigerian first. We eat okra, we eat Nigerian food. Their dad is Igbo, their dad teaches them Igbo. We go home 3 to 4 times a year, well, pre-corona. We go home often, deeply, deeply connected to our families. So my kids have a very strong identity in their Nigerianness, and I want to normalize that, and I do, and I'm not worried about that. And it wasn't an issue for me either.
Oh, that is beautiful. Sometimes in conversations you have people who sort of struggle with finding that balance, but then you've kind of
Yeah,
like made reference to how the family that's around you is
yeah,
helping with that created the balance for you, and it's also helping with creating the balance for your kids. So that's a
yeah.
beautiful thing.
And I think it's also important to really have pride in where you're from. We live in a
Mm.
predominantly white neighborhood in Palo Alto, but it's incredibly international. And my kids' school, every year, they have this big international festival. And last year, I think there were 135 different nationalities.
Oh,
And so
wow.
in the whole school, there are two Nigerian families. And so we always do the representation. We cook jollof, we wear Nigerian outfits, and, even the kids, and we set up a table. And there's a very strong appreciation of, if you're from Italy or Poland or wherever, everybody appreciates their culture. So I think that, and
Hmm.
we play Nigerian music at our table. So I think one of the biggest things is really empowering your children, irrespective of who is around them physically, to understand that there is deep pride in where you come from. So I've
Mm.
gone to my kids' class to speak about Nigerian music, to wear Nigerian clothing. And so I want them to feel that sense of pride in, we are from a beautiful country with beautiful traditions, norms, cultures, languages, etc., even though we may not physically be in that country right now.
That is a beautiful thing. I do hope that a lot of Nigerians listening can take that because, having that pride and that solid identity is a beautiful way to think about life. I want to
Yeah.
talk about your background through your career in finance. What was that
Sure.
journey like? Over about what, 20 years now in the finance
Yeah.
industry? What
Yeah.
was it navigating that, starting from the beginning, going all the way to the top? Tell me that story.
So somebody said, okay, that's absolutely beautiful. So when I was an undergrad, like the average Nigerian who doesn't come from a wealthy family, I had to work.
Mm.
So I had scholarships, I had loans, I worked, I had jobs I worked. And over my summers, I worked in finance. And really, it was largely driven by the amount of money. I mean, I used to make, I think it was $600 a week, which for me was like $1 million. I was just like, what? This is before tax. But it was just so much money, right? So for me, it was more of, okay, I need to make money so I can pay off my loans. And this seems like an interesting thing to do, but
Hmm.
it's a really apprenticeship type of business. And so you have to be hungry and you have to be humble. I mean, I did 2 or 3 internships throughout my undergraduate years. And when you're an intern, I mean, you're getting people coffee, you are buying people lunch, you are the person they send on errands. But if you do that with humility, what will happen is that those people will also be willing to teach you. Right.
Yes.
And so you have to show, oh, it's almost this thing of, listen, I'm willing to serve. I'm so humble and I'm so hungry. I want to learn. So the rubbish activities that you don't want, I'll take that from you, but give me something in return.
Hmm.
And so throughout my internship years, I was incredibly well mentored, and then I graduated and started as an analyst. And I just was really very fortunate and blessed to have the most amazing mentors. And the majority of my mentors, to be honest, were white males. And they, for some reason, just decided that they wanted to help me. And I
Hmm.
was, one of maybe 3 Black women at the firm in those days. And it was hard. It's hard to be different, but if you just, it's hard. You will deal with so many different things, but you just stay focused. You stay focused and you deal with racial issues.
It looks like the connection is a little bit messy. Hopefully it sorts itself out. I am in conversation with Aishetu. Oh, hey,
Hi!
you're back.
Sorry, I have no idea what happened. It just said you're done with your live discussion.
There was a bit of a network disconnection,
Yes,
so I had to
yes,
add you back. So you
yes.
were talking about, having all of these mentors and people work with you, and I wanted us to talk a little bit about the value of mentorship. I watched one of your videos where you spoke about being the only female, the only black female on the trading floor with a bunch of white men who were like going really hard on the job, but then they somehow embraced you and helped you
Yeah,
figure that out. So let's talk a bit about what it's like to create that connection with a mentor and then foster that relationship over time for your
yeah.
benefit.
Yeah. So I've been very open in that I don't believe, and this is personal, so if people disagree, that's okay, but I don't believe in just asking someone to be your mentor. I
Mm.
think you have to earn it. And the reason I think this is because if you admire or emulate somebody who sort of steps above you in their career, the odds that they're super busy with their lives, with their professional lives and personal lives are quite high. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're coming from a point of needing, you have to demonstrate why this person should take a slice out of their day to spend on you. And so that's what I was saying before we got disconnected, that, really showing your hunger and investing in relationships is how you develop mentors. Now, I think I was definitely privileged in that I came from pedigree in terms of my educational qualifications, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
even had a seat at the table. Not everybody gets the opportunity to be a young analyst at Goldman Sachs in New York. So that was already privilege in of itself. And so when you accept that privilege, but say, okay, now I'm in this place, but I'm at the bottom,
Right.
I just have to show I'm hungry. And so that's what I meant by, if people need coffee, I would get up and go get the coffee. No problem. If people need to buy lunch, I'm the one who did the lunch run. I did anything. Now, obviously, as you get more senior, you have to stop doing that. But when I you have to, there's a time when you're like, okay, this is abuse, right? But for me, that was my approach. And you have to remember, my first job on Wall Street was in 1995. 1995 was a completely different world from 2020.
Yes.
So those were the things we did back then. And so I just think that being humble and being hungry are huge when you're looking for mentors. And so what I would do was, if I found as a trader on the desk that maybe some of the work that he did, he would have to stay late to call Asia to check through trades, I would say to him, let me take that off you. I'll do that so that you can go home early. Because I was young, I was single, I didn't have any children, so I could work all the time. So I would take work off of people's desks, but then I
Mm-hmm.
would do it excellently, which means that the next time that they are looking for somebody to do work that they don't want to do, but is not so drudge work, they're going to think about you.
Right.
And so it was just constantly, how can I help? How can I help? How can I be of service? How can I make your job easier? And then before you know what happens, they're giving you the real work to do. And they're letting you talk to clients. And I was one of the youngest people to have clients myself. I moved to Chicago for a brief period of time to cover a woman who was on maternity leave. I mean, this woman was 15 years in the game, and they let me cover her clients. So it's about being hungry. It's about doing the extra work. If your job requires 6 hours a day of work, do 12 hours a day. Just master it. And it's this whole pursuit of excellence and
Mm-hmm.
focusing on mastery of the task at hand. Once you do that, I mean, you can't erase your race and you can't erase your sex, right? I mean, that is, as I walk around, I'm a black woman.
Yes.
But people will say, okay, but if you give this work to Aisha, she's going to nail it.
Yeah, I like how you talked about taking the work off of them because I feel
Yeah,
like that helps you do two things, right? First of all, you're getting your hands dirty, you're getting the experience, right? And you get to make, I mean, you will make mistakes starting out. You get to
of
make those
course.
mistakes on a small scale. And
Yeah,
it's a situation where even when you make a mistake, someone else can cover you for that and take
yeah,
responsibility for it and teach you the correct way to do it,
exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
you're
Exactly.
gaining experience, you're helping them, and I think that you're also giving them the opportunity to teach. I find that most people enjoy teaching and being able to say, hey, I put that person on. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you
so
want to be a good student.
you
Nobody
want to
wants
be a
to
good
teach
student,
somebody
right?
who is lazy or who doesn't do
Mm-hmm.
the homework or who doesn't show up, right? So you've got to be a good student. You have to be worth this person's time. And this
Yeah.
is how I think I have been the beneficiary of really amazing mentors.
I definitely do agree with that. It sounds like a very smart way to go about building your career. Now, you also talked about, at the point where you become more senior and then some things become evidently abused, right? How do you make that mental pivot? How do you kind of like know, all right, I'm at the point where I now know more. There are some things that I will no longer do, and there's some things that I need to start targeting myself towards. How does that work mentally for you?
That is hard.
Hmm.
And a lot of people will take the piss, right? Because you're always the one, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. And
Mm-hmm.
then you become the person that they want to be telling to be doing, be doing, be doing. And, it's hard to, you have to know your worth. You have to really know your leverage, because particularly men, they will take the piss as long as you let them. So you have to understand when you can say no, and don't do it before. And my concern with a lot of younger professionals right now is right off the boat, they want to be given the big clients. They want to be saying no. They want, they just lack all forms of humility. And I have been told that's the way millennials are, and that's the way Gen Z is. So I guess, I don't know, but it just shocks me how you have developed no skin in the game. You have not demonstrated that your proficiency in anything, and all of a sudden you don't want to be doing the small task.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you need to get to the point where you know your value very well. And then you start saying, I'm sorry. And you don't say it, I think for me at least, I try to not be rude unless the
Mm-hmm.
occasion really calls for you to speak up for yourself. So what I try to do, if somebody gives me, or then when somebody would give me a task, even now, that I think is I shouldn't be working on, I'll say, well, thank you, Tom. I think that's something that really needs to happen. Maybe we should have XYZ work on it. Or
Right.
maybe we should find, one of the more junior resources to take that on, and then I'll take a look at it afterwards. So just don't wait. In the discussion where it comes up that you should do a task that is, I don't want to say below your station, because nothing is below your station. And there are times at which, even as I've been senior, that I've had to get into the model. I've had to get into writing documents. I mean, everybody can do any type of work, but there's some times where somebody's taking the piss and you need to just be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Or, hey, why don't you do that and send across the first draft and we'll all take a look and I'll let you know my comments within 24 hours. People generally know. So if you do it that way, it's hard for someone to be outwardly offended by that response, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
way to
Yeah.
handle it.
I like the diplomacy of it because you're not just outrightly saying, no, I'm not going to do it. You're saying, you're giving a suggestion and saying, hey,
Yeah.
let this other person do it, or why don't you do it? The work still
Yeah.
gets done, right? That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to achieve. So it
Exactly.
all works.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move a little bit from your professional career in financial services and talk about some of the creative things that you've done. You wrote a book.
I
How do you
did.
transition? How do you transition from such a high-profile, fast-paced career to writing an illustrative children's book? Tell me that journey. What's that
So
story?
it's amazing because when you're looking in on someone's life, you only see a bunch of dots. It's pretty hard to connect them. But having lived my life, it doesn't seem like a transition at all. I've always been a writer. Always. I have been writing a series of books since the mid 90s.
Oh, wow.
um, all sorts of books. I mean, I'm always writing. I write short articles, I write long articles, I write. The majority are not published. So for me, I love expressing through words. I think the children, and then on the other side is I love color, as you can see. I love color. You can see this painting behind me. I love color. I love art. So for me, I can't draw or illustrate, but I wanted to, at the time, I ran a children's play and activity center, which
Hmm.
was called Palu's Place. And Palu was the nickname of my first son. And it just came to me that I could create what was supposed to be a series of stories around a character that I could develop called Palu. And because I enjoyed writing, I just went out and found, and it was so, when I look back on the moments of real creative bursts of energy that I've so enjoyed, they have always involved color. And I remember I had a tiny office, maybe the size of this room I'm in right now, and I had working with illustrators, and I would print out the different drafts of the illustration, and I would think about the words I would want. And it just was the most amazing and exciting time for me. And so it wasn't a pivot. I mean, I have always lived in color. I have always been expressive. It's just that the medium of expression has been different. And so
Right.
in that case, it was through a children's book. But in my banking career, it was through my pitches. It was through the suits I wore. It was through the lipstick I wore. It was through my hairstyles. So I've always been creating. It's just that you haven't connected the dots in the way I have.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you talk about it as not being a pivot, because a lot of times where I particularly am really focused on the pivoting, towards creating other alternatives, but you do seem to come across as a person who has always been multifaceted, and you've been very intent and conscious of embracing all your different facets and making them work
Yeah.
together as one. How do you
Yeah.
manage that? Because some people just feel like, okay, I cannot be creative and analytical. I cannot think in numbers and think in colors, but you're doing that successfully.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of it is fear, and I don't want to underestimate the fear that I had when did my first entrepreneurial venture. And actually, one of my best friends in 1997, when I graduated, we had put together a business plan to start what is now Net-a-Porter. We wanted to do an online business where you could buy designer clothing. And she was in London, I was in New York. She flew down, and we spent this whole weekend working on this business plan and this pitch, and we were so excited. And then at the end, we both lost confidence, right? Because I was, at the time, I think I was making $36,000 in investment banking. And for me, that was millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I just could not imagine not making a salary to take this risk. So I was afraid, and I couldn't do it afraid. And so I walked away from it. And I think the benefit of having worked a lot longer and had some savings and also have some confidence behind me is to understand that the value of money is what it gives you, but not the joy that it brings. And so having invested in a long-term finance career and having made quite a bit of money, realizing that that money doesn't make you happy,
Mm.
right? And so then you start saying, okay, well, how much money do I actually need, right? How much? And then you start planning a little bit better. You start giving away. You start saying, okay, I'm not going to buy certain things. I'm not going to take certain trips. I'm going to make certain trade-offs so that I can invest my life on the left side of my brain, because I spent all this time investing in the right side of my brain. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about courage. And this is why, my new line of lipsticks, there are 5 names of sort of what I call essential traits for successful women: courage, wisdom, hustle, bravery, faith.
Mm.
All of those things play in to one another, and you jump. But it doesn't mean, people say to me, oh my God, Aisha, you're so fearless. How can you be fearless? I'm like, no, no, no. I don't want anybody to interpret my journey as being fearless. I am always afraid. The issue is that I'm not inert. I overcome the inertia, and I do it afraid anyway.
I like that you spoke, well, first of all, you spoke about fear, but you also spoke about the value of money. I listen to Jordan Peterson a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but then there's something that he says where for most people, any money that they earn over $60,000 is extra. Like most people are able to figure their life out with $60,000. So for you, it does sound like you sort of decided, all right, this is how much money I need to survive. Everything else I can channel towards creating this life that I
Yeah.
truly enjoy. So
Yeah.
would you consider that to be a wise way for people, especially millennials and Gen Z folks, right? Would you consider that to be a wise way for them to navigate their lives? Spend some time building a career in something that pays you so that you can get to understand how money really works, and so that you can create that sort of cushion of comfort for yourself, and then plunge out into that thing that drives you.
I'm almost thinking that millennials don't need my advice. Well, they don't want it, clearly, because they are, I'm so impressed with Gen Z and millennials because I'm learning from them. I
Mm-hmm.
wish that I knew earlier that, you know, maybe so much of a safety net was not necessary. It took me a while to get there. And in the end, you know, I'm somebody of incredible faith. So I believe that God took me on this journey for a reason. But what I'm finding with younger women now is that they are not feeling like they need to work somewhere for 20 years to save money to go and do the thing that they really want to do. They're just doing the thing that they really want to do from day one. And I don't know that I have advice for that because it's not the journey that I took. I am so impressed by it. I admire it. I think that you need to weigh the risks and the options. One thing I can say to you is that the benefit that I had when I started my children's play and education center, I took 4 years to do that, and then I ultimately wound it down. I was able to go back to investment banking without taking a pay cut. Right? And I think that the benefit of having worked for so many years across global institutions and having had that, you know, background, professional background and academic pedigree allowed me to basically take off and do something for 4 years that maybe had not been directly relational to what I was going back to do, but having had that solid background. And I think that being able to really articulate the transferable skills from being an entrepreneur is critical. So my advice to people is weigh your risks, right? But the best risk you can ever take in your life is on yourself. So I always tell people I am super risk averse. Me, I don't like risk. When any money I have, I put it either in cash or fixed income. I'm not a gambler. I'm not a, I don't be balling like that with my money. But if it's to invest in my education, if it's to invest in a business I'm doing, if it's to invest in myself, I can empty my bank account and drink Gary for 2 years. I don't have a problem with it. I think I'm a very excellent investment. So it depends on your appetite for risk.
Yeah. I like that. And I like that you say that you're risk averse because sometimes I think that when a person hears that another human being is risk averse, they sort of assume that they live such a guarded life that they really don't
Yeah.
do anything. But then when you're risk averse, I feel like that helps you decide on what it is you consider the most valuable thing to take risks on.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, I
that
really
definitely makes
believe in
sense.
high risk and high reward. You
Mm,
know, almost nothing is a zero risk event, right? I mean,
right.
you could even keep all your money under your bed and sleep and then die. So, I mean, hey, that, you know, that, how did that work out for you, right? So there
Right.
is no zero risk. I think it's about being calculated. Now, obviously, you have to measure the privilege that you execute in this life, right? Fortunate, I have the privilege of coming from a double income family and being able to live and eat and feed my children, right? If some people don't have that, and so they need to really spend their time focused on providing healthcare, providing home and school and shelter, etc. So there is some privilege in the way I navigate
Yeah.
my own risk appetite as well.
Yes, yes. Now let's talk a little bit about your project from 2016, African Herstory.
Sure.
I got a chance to watch some of the videos, and I'm like, yes, yeah, this you really went all out to
I
have these
did.
really solid stories being told.
I
Um,
did. I
what
did.
was, I mean, I already know, but for the benefit of our audience, what was the drive and the aim and the purpose for going on that journey?
So, a couple of things. I actually wrote an article on LinkedIn, and I think it's called Do You See Me?
Hmm.
And I wrote that article in the lounge in the airport in Johannesburg.
Okay.
And as I told you, I've been writing forever, and
Yeah.
I need to be passionate about something. And once I'm passionate about something, I'm just like the article comes out or the story just comes out of me. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was part of a women's group called Lean In Circle. And I can't remember what we had just discussed. Some injustice to women. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then I remember just feeling very angry about injustice to women in general, but also accomplished women, right? And I just felt like in our society in Africa, not only does the media portray African women internationally as poor, as hungry, and as disheveled and disadvantaged, which many are, but I just didn't feel like women like myself or my friends were being reflected adequately as successful women in media. That was one thing. The second thing is that I just felt like in Nigeria, I was looking at all the women that were being appointed to boards or getting these high profile appointments. They were all the same women, right? There was like this short list of women, and they were the only women everybody could support. And I was just like, wait a minute. I know thousands of women who are just badass, like brilliant, beautiful, and just everything. Complete. Check, 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 check. And I just felt like none of us were getting the accolades we deserved. And so I was a banker at the time, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to do this little side hustle. And I thought, maybe a couple of my friends would watch the videos. That's really what it was. I mean, I did not expect. Some of the videos have gotten 400,000 views. And I'm just like, huh? Who? And I looked at the analytics. 40% of the videos were recycle of the same theory by men. Yeah, 40% of the videos were viewed by men. You cannot even imagine the analytics of the success of Africa Herstory. Even I did not expect that. And so it even tells me, and so obviously you have people like Mo Abudu and Bolanle Austin Peters who know the game. They're experts there. They know what they're doing. This for me was a side hustle. And the whole thing about it was, I didn't take $1 from anybody. It was all self-funded. And I said, I just want to showcase to the world that there's some amazing women out there. And so we talked about lots of issues. I featured individuals. I think 1 or 2 of them are on the video or on the call right now. I just wanted people to know their stories. I wanted people to talk about failure and success because the two go hand in hand. Yeah. I wanted people to talk about struggles. I wanted people to talk about, doing side hustles themselves. We talked about careers in law, careers in finance, careers in investing. We talked about being a woman in Nigeria. I wanted to really showcase the diversity of the African woman. And there are 2 episodes I actually haven't brought out yet. And they've been sitting on my laptop for the last 2 years. I just haven't had time to edit them. But that for me was a complete labor of love. I just wanted the world to be able to see African women in all of our splendor, all of our magnificence and our beauty and our brilliance. If it was my own little sprinkle of black girl magic.
Right. And I feel like the world is thankful. I didn't get round to watching everything, but just from the episode, there was one that was a round table conversation.
Yes.
I don't recall
We had a few
everyone
round
that was
tables,
on it. Right. And I'm like, this is content that will be evergreen. This is something that people are going to look back on and they're going to remember. And even if they don't remember, it's going to create a spark in anyone who's watching, some spark in some sort of way and help you do more. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I want to say, just if I may, there's an incredible woman who died today. Her name is Ibidu Igodalo. I think a lot of people know her, and I won't spend too much time talking about her, but I do want to honor her, especially as you talk about African Herstory, because what she did in terms of being a presence in this world, in terms of sharing her struggles, and being a light for others and using those struggles to really just bless other people, that is significance, that is impact. And I pray for her soul to rest in peace. I pray for her family. But I thought about it now because, I'm not comparing myself to her at all, but I think I got to a point about 5-6 years ago of saying, obviously I like earning money, but that's not it, right? I really felt this incredible pull at my soul that I was supposed to have purpose and that I was not living a life of purpose and that I was just going and looking at loan documents and doing big deals and making nice money and wearing nice suits and coming home. And I felt this tug in my spirit of, this is not what I sent you here to do. I sent you here to have impact. I sent you here to move mountains, literally. What are you doing? And so the spirit kept talking to me and I didn't know what the answer was. I still don't know what the answer is, but I knew that what I was doing at that moment wasn't it. And so if I could even have that small type of impact of what Ibidu did on this planet, which is to touch the souls, to speak to the the joy of other women in the world, to elevate African women, for people to feel, to see other women that they want to be like, and to know that they can do it. You know, I really believe that you can be what you can see. And so if I could even do something with the money. And what I love the most about African Herstory is I did not collect money from anybody, right? It was almost like, instead of me giving, I'm a Catholic, so we don't do tithing. So my thing is, if I don't tithe, no problem. But this money I'm going to spend, I'm going to use it to bless other people. That's the way I thought about it.
You know, this really spoke directly to me. I'm Catholic as well, and very recently I've had people, talk to me about tithing, and it's just that thing where I want to do the 10%, but I'm not necessarily sure how to do it. But hearing you say this just now definitely was a light bulb for me. I'm sure that anyone who's listening would also get that sort of light bulb moment. And this is the magnificence of you. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
um, you spoke very beautifully about purpose, and it's brought two things to mind for a conversation with you. First of all, you talked about having just that nagging pull about, not living a life of purpose. But I'm sure you were having that pull, but you were still within your corporate space, still working in the financial industry. I don't know how many years that went on for, but how were you able to navigate that? Because a lot of people feel this thing where they are feeling drawn out of where they are to pursue purpose, but they just are not ready. And that waiting period creates a bit of a
Yeah.
turmoil inside of them.
Yeah.
So, how
Yeah.
do you navigate that period?
So I'm really fortunate. I have the most amazing friends, several of which I can see in the comments, but I'm trying not to look at their comments. But I have, my mom is also on. My mom is amazing. Poor woman has heard of all my ideas in this life. She's probably tired of all my great ideas I come to her with, many of which are not great. And my friends too. I mean, I just bother them about, hey guys, I'm unsettled. I don't know what I want to do. I don't like what I'm doing. I want to do something different. I think having this, board of directors, if you'd say,
Mm,
or advisors as friends around you to bounce ideas off of. I think for me, I didn't necessarily think I wanted to go into a career in media when I started African Herstory. I just knew that the exact thing I was doing was what I wanted to do. I wanted
right.
to tell the stories of successful, amazing African women. And what I wanted, right, was I didn't want just African women to watch it. I wanted African men to watch it. I wanted white
Mm-hmm.
men to watch it. I wanted white women to watch it. And in fact, when I did my fellowship at Stanford, they aired it and they had me come speak. Yeah, they aired a bunch of different episodes and they had me speak. And that for me was great. And my point was, listen, guys, I'm not saying that there's not poverty in Africa, of course, right? I'm not saying that there are not a plethora of issues that African women are dealing with. I'm not saying that either. There are advocates for all of the different issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am an advocate for the economic emancipation of African women. I am the advocate of women. Get your education, get your job, make your money, have your cash. I am not an advocate of women are competing with men. Those two are not the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I am
Right.
married. I'm not.
It looks
Did I
like we're
lose you? I
okay.
just got
Okay.
a call.
Yes, for a moment, but we're back.
Okay. Yeah. So I got a call. Sorry. I put it on no notification, but I guess it didn't work. So yeah. So I think for me that you have to decide what is tugging at your soul. And I didn't know at the time, but I just knew this is something I want to do. And so I did it.
Mm,
And so I think that people should break down their passions into little pieces. I think if you start with, oh, I want to create the next Microsoft, you're going to spend a lot of time noodling over how to create the next Microsoft. Peel it back, break it down, and then just start attacking those pieces little by little. This life is about habits. This life is about systems. I'm reading a
mm.
book right now called Atomic Habits, and it talks about how systems are more important than goals, right?
Yes.
Because the problem is once you hit a goal, it's like, all right, what next? I have to keep going, right? There's always a
Mm-hmm.
new goal. And so now it's about systems. And I think that your systems have to be built on a system of excellence, right? And just so once you do the next one, you keep doing, you keep getting better, you have these habits. And so my advice to women is, if you are frustrated with what you're doing right now, just start doing things you enjoy. Little things. maybe dressing up, maybe wearing necklaces, maybe doing whatever, doing hair, hanging out, watching films. Try to figure out the things that you do that bring you joy. And then the second thing that a friend of mine, Indidi Uneli, gave me advice some years ago. I went to talk to her, like I said, board of directors. So I talked to all my friends, but I had lunch one day with Indidi. I was like, Indidi, you seem like you just know what you're on this planet for. I don't know what I'm here to do. I'm just an investment banker. I don't like it, but I don't know what I want to do. Indidi said to me, Aisha, what makes you angry? I said, what do you mean? She said, sometimes your purpose and your passion is in the thing that just drives you crazy. That was one of the most
That
poignant
is
statements
profound.
ever said to me.
Yeah.
Profound and powerful. So if you can't really focus on the thing that sparks joy, focus on the thing that drives you mad.
That is definitely something to take home. Yeah, I'm mulling that over in my head, and it makes perfect sense because when a thing upsets you and drives you enough, you will figure out a way to do something about it, right? And
Exactly.
there you have it, your purpose.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
definitely
So
makes sense.
I haven't solved the problem of women's economic advancement,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my constant message. In almost everything I do, the thread is there. The thread is there.
And it's building in tiny increments. It's something I speak of a lot, like building habits and just creating a culture of excellence around yourself is in doing the little things and just building in increments. You do one thing today, it's good. You do the next thing, it's good. And sooner or later, you're going to look back and what you're going to have are a bunch of beautiful dots that are all good that brought you to this place that you are now. So I can completely
Exactly.
resonate with that.
And we
Um,
all had a saying growing up, little drops of water make a tiny ocean, right? Or mighty
Absolutely.
ocean, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. You just keep dropping, 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 and then all of a sudden one day, whoosh, ocean shows up.
Now, let us talk a bit about Bossy Cosmetics. I saw the tagline "Beauty meets purpose" with it, and I want us to talk about what that means. How is beauty
Yeah,
meeting purpose, and how are you
yeah,
helping women? How is this a purposeful business for you
yeah.
and for women?
Sure, sure. So it's interesting because the number of people who have said to me, from investment banking, you went to making lipsticks. It's been really hilarious because people don't understand the business of beauty. It is a business. It's a $600 billion industry. It's
Hmm.
global and it's growing and it's highly intimate for women. And so when I say beauty meets purpose, what I wanted to do, I wanted to build a for-profit business that had high margins, um, that was a product led business, but allowed me to establish intimacy with my clients, right? And because, like I said earlier in this chat, I wanted to move from success to significance. How do I
Mm.
start to help women affirm themselves so that when they are going out in the world, they feel ignited with a sense of confidence. They can go out there and show up in a board meeting, show up to a pitch meeting, or talk to somebody in the office about a difficult situation. How would I help her in that process, right? Because I didn't want to do a nonprofit. And I figured I wanted to do something where if she bought my product, we almost felt close, right? And so I realized through a series of really amazing dots connecting that was in lipstick. And then I started to do some research and I realized that most women who buy lipsticks, which is an overwhelming majority of women, are not are very open. It's the one category in beauty that people have almost no loyalty. They will have a lipstick that they love, right? Which most people is Max Ruby Woo, but they will have 20 other lipstick brands that
Yeah.
they're willing to try. And they could be, I have the same wine colored lipstick by 15 different
Different
makeup
brands.
companies, right? The same red, but da, da, da. So I realized that, and I'm not an influencer, I'm not a celebrity. So after doing a lot of research, I said, okay, that's the category that I need to go into because it's the category that people are willing to give somebody a chance.
Mm.
So I said, I will start with lips and use it to start to develop my message, develop my branding, develop my own chops, right? Because I don't come from the marketing industry. I don't come from beauty. So I wanted to use it as almost, okay, this is where you're willing to test. Let's test with one another, and then we'll iterate. I'll create a product. I'll test it out, develop some insights. What doesn't work, we'll tweak, we'll come back. So I did that whole sort of design thinking process. Now, where does purpose come in is it's very salient, right? But my hope is that if you engage in any of our assets, so our photography imagery, our videos, our website, our Twitter handle, Instagram, you will almost, the goal, hopefully we're successful, is you will feel this excitement. You will feel this, you will feel energized. You know, we have a lot of affirmations on our packaging. I think I have some of my packaging here. Hold on. Let me show you. Everything that we do is about elevating women. So some of our new packaging, we have affirmations like, you are amazing. Can you see that?
I see that. Yeah.
We have, you are awesome. We have this, be bold, be you. We have on our new lipsticks, we say, may this beautiful lipstick color serve as war paint and help you to surpass every goal that you've set for yourself and more. So
I love it.
everything about us is about get it, go,
Yes.
go, right? I mean, let me show you another one of our eyeshadows. I mean, we don't play. This is one of our new eyeshadows coming out, and it's just sexy women in sexy high heels, right? And it's called Style Meets Substance. So we are about amplifying voices, empowering women, igniting confidence. You know, I always say to people when they say, what is Bossy Cosmetics? I say we ignite confidence in working women, in ambitious working women through content, through products, and through services. And it's a tiny thing that we want to get into the subconscious of these types of women. And so far we've not done badly.
You haven't done badly. I feel like I really like that message point, right? So a person's coming to you and asking, hey, what is Bossy Cosmetics? They're going to expect you to talk something beauty related. You know, I'm trying to make products that make women feel beautiful, put some color on their face and skin. But it's not about that. You're trying to get women to be confident and courageous and just go after what they really want. And if what it takes is a little red lipstick or orange lipstick to get them there, fine, let's do it.
So, my husband told me one day there was this line I had in a document, which was in my pitch book, which I still haven't pitched anybody yet, but it says Bossy Cosmetics is a mission-driven women's empowerment company that masquerades as a beauty business.
I love it. I love it.
So that is who we are, our goal. And so when I think about where we could go, beyond, skincare, full face makeup, whatever, conferences for women, thinking about, just anything, right? Because that is the ultimate calling, that is the ultimate purpose, that is the ultimate passion. And the current mechanism through which we do that is lipsticks. But we can do that through so many things. And that is what I feel that we will build over time.
I definitely look forward to more beautiful stories from Bossy Cosmetics. I do see how it's very pretty much possible and likely that you're going to go full range, successful in the path that
I
you're on.
hope so. I hope
I'm
so.
rooting for you.
Thank you. I need it.
Now, Father's Day is coming up. Clearly, you seem to have a beautiful relationship with your husband and with your sons. You're raising three superhero men who hopefully will become fathers someday. What is a message that you want to give to fathers about fatherhood, mothers about fatherhood, young people about fatherhood, something that you want men to take with them and run with in 2020?
Well, I mean, having not grown up with my own father, I have an immense amount of love and respect for my husband because the presence of two parents in our children's lives, I am actually happy for them. I don't know if that makes any sense. I love that they are young boys who who have a mom who is 100% invested in loving them and educating them and raising them and empowering them. And they have the exact same thing in their father. You know, I'm the strict one of the two of us. And so my message is just, you know, may God bless him. You know, may God bless my husband. May God give him long life. May God give him good health. You know, I am very grateful to him as the father of my children. He's a great father to them. He is, you know, they love him. You know, he was in Nigeria during this pandemic. He was able to get evacuated. And so for a while the family was without him, and it was hard on all of us. You know, really, really hard. And that's where you see, you know, that the absence of a father in a home, I think particularly when the children are male, is huge. And so my message to him for Father's Day is I pray for everything he wants and more, for him to be blessed and for him to continue to be the good partner and father. Every business I have done, this man has invested in me, not only financially, but just emotionally and mentally. You know, one day I was asking him for advice, and I was like, I'm not going to ask you for advice because you're always encouraging me to do everything. You never tell me when I'm stupid or crazy. So I'm grateful for that, right? For this man who just doesn't think that I can do anything wrong. And
Aw.
then just so that's, you know, my prayer for him is just his own joy, his own personal satisfaction within this family, but beyond. You know, he's an entrepreneur. I pray for his success all the time. I want him to be completely fulfilled outside of the family as well as inside of the family. And I just, you know, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. It
Does
does.
it?
And it's,
Okay.
yeah, and it's I feel like it's a really powerful thing because you are clearly a strong woman who has attained a lot in a career that you maybe at some point you didn't necessarily feel very passionate about, but you were successful at, so you got the work done. And then now you are doing something that you are passionate about, and from all indication, you are getting the work done. And there is evidently that beautiful and outstanding relationship with a partner that is supporting you. You're raising a family. And I feel like you are an image of a woman who breaks that negative stereotype about how a woman cannot have it all. Because even though it's rough, it is possible to create a life that has elements of everything that you need. You seem to be doing that.
Well, let's be careful. I definitely no relationship is perfect. So
Yes.
I definitely never want to be put on a pedestal with respect to anything.
Hmm.
And I think that you can have it all, but over a period of time.
Right.
I think that I don't. It's weird for me because I don't define marriage as one of those things that you can look at somebody and say they have a successful life, right?
Hmm.
Because so many people have marriages that are better, that they don't have, right? That these marriages are over. There are a lot of really
Yes.
bad marriages that I've seen. And so I also don't think that I have it all. I think that I'm very blessed and very fortunate. Ngozi and I are forever family, right? We've got 3 children. We are forever family. We are forever friends. We fight. We love. You know, we coexist very well. And I'm really in awe of him because honestly, he's a really, really great person. He's a really great person. But I don't think, do I have it all? I don't know. I don't know what that means. It's not something I've sat down to ever think that I do have.
Hmm.
And maybe I need to be a lot more grateful because I am grateful about a lot of the things I have in life. But when you say have it all, I'm like, I don't have $1 billion, so I don't have it all. When I have $1 billion, I will call you and tell you
Well,
now I have it all.
I'll make sure that we stay in touch, just so that we remember that you're gonna call me and I'm gonna call you,
I
right?
will call you. Don't worry. I will call you the day I have it all. I'm saying now I have it all.
Well, thank you so much, Aishetu. It has been such a beautiful time talking to you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for sharing, and
Thank you,
just
my
thank you for being such a person, allowing yourself to be used in the way that you're being used. And I wish you a lot of luck, a lot of success, a lot of blessings. I hope that
Thank
the next
you.
time that we chat with you, there'll be more successes to share.
Thank you. Amen, 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 amen. Thank you. Thank you to the entire Her Network. Thank you to
Hmm.
everybody who's joined. I've been seeing a lot of comments, but I
Yes,
haven't really
yes.
paid attention because I'm trying to focus on answering your question.
Yes.
Did anybody ask any questions? Did we
Well,
respond, or I
we
don't know?
try not to do questions live because that would be a huge distraction. But
Okay.
this is going to be on YouTube, and what Nkem and I would probably try to do is to get some of the questions people ask on YouTube and probably send that over to you. That can be a
Okay.
different sort of engagement that we would have on the platform, just to,
Okay.
help everyone feel connected.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you
Well,
so
everybody
much.
enjoy your Sunday. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Same here. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a beautiful one. Goodbye.